Brooklyn, Danny Green. I am Harrison Sanford. Best believe there is a bunch to discuss on this fair show, and we will try to get to all of it, including what happened in the Cavaliers' end of the season playoff series against the New York Knicks, some of the comments that were made by some of those key players, some of the comments that were and actually were not made by Dillon Brooks, rant, and the Memphis Grizzlies, Danny's former team, as they were ousted by the Los Angeles Lakers. But we will get to that in a moment. And of course, we'll touch on the new Western Conference series. But first, DG, now that the season is over, I'm expecting you to be breaking down your fair shares of X's and O's on the national airwaves, maybe ESPN, maybe somewhere else. Who knows where you might be popping up over the next month and a half until we go through the finals. But you got to take at least a little bit of a vacation. Like you put in a lot of work to get back on the court this year after the ACL and the LCL injury. You should definitely disappear for a little bit.
I mean, that's the plan. I don't have anything officially planned yet, but when the season's over, you kind of start making plans of where you want to go, what you want to do. It's a different summer for me. I have different things expecting. So I'm just going to be chilling at home with wifey and also still rehabbing. Even though I came back and was cleared, I want to make sure my knee is good. And I kind of have to, reinvent or reprove myself against the teams that I'm capable since, I wasn't able to have an opportunity to do so this past year. So I want to stay on top of the knee and make sure I rehab it. It may not be full time, but I'll still be tapping in, 2 or 3 days a week. I'm making sure the knee is right and strong and making sure I get back to where I was and the things that I want to work on for that. But because the season ended so abruptly, I was able to take on a quick turnaround trip to surprise my younger brother, which this will release before or after I see him. So he's playing over in Sweden. He's in his finals right now of playing in, I think, the championship round or the finals round. And I think they're up 1-0 on this team. So we're flying out tomorrow to go check him, hopefully meet him. And he plays Monday, I think it's game 2 or 3. So I'll see him Monday for his game 2 or 3 and another game, I think, on the 3rd. Also, be able to celebrate my other brother's birthday while we're there, Rashad.
Nice.
Shadi. So Shadi's birthday is the 3rd, so we'll be able to celebrate his birthday and be there. Me and my dad, and my dad's bringing my younger sister, Summer. We weren't able to bring Dante, but we're going to go to surprise him. His girlfriend reached out. She did a good girlfriend job by making sure to support him, but also get his family to support him. So she reached out and seen that the schedules were free and that I possibly might have been coming home sooner than earlier, which I didn't plan or expect. So it cost me more than I would like to make it happen because I had to plan all this. I wasn't expecting to be free this early. To make this quick turnaround and fly to Sweden within a couple of days of ending the season. So it was not planned, but it is part of a small vacation package that I'm able to, get free, but also support my younger brother and enjoy part of the, what Sweden has to offer.
No, bro, I know it's a last minute thing. It probably was way more expensive than if you planned it months ago. But that is very unique, and who knows? It could be once in a lifetime.
Once in a lifetime. That's what I experienced. I don't think that during his tenure of playing, I've ever been free, and I don't know if I'll ever will be free to visit him overseas to play. Hopefully I will, but I said I'd take this opportunity and take advantage of it. And I've never been to Sweden either, so it's like, all right, it's kind of a win-win. Jumping on a plane tomorrow, man, and then trying to get there and then surprise him, man. Hopefully he'll be, excited, happy, and open arms, and I'll get a chance to not only support him but experience another country. And I said, never know when this opportunity will happen again.
No, that's absolutely fire to me. But while you're gone, I'll be watching the NBA like I always do. Will you?
I'll be watching too, bro. I'll catch the game before I fly out.
We're gonna see. I think you might be capping. I think
6-hour time difference, bro.
It's a 6-hour time difference. Oh, that's not
the difference. Come on, man. From the East Coast, I think it's 6 hours. Yeah, I ain't missing nothing.
Wait, 6 hours
ahead of us, I think. It's 6 hours ahead. I think they're 6 hours ahead of us. Which is 9 hours California time. So so right now it's midnight here. We were late right now, 6 a.m. right now there. So I guess the 10 o'clock,
you get to watch it early in the day.
4:30, 4 or 5 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I'll be up catching the games. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's not bad. That's actually not bad. Honestly, we were about to talk about sport. We were about to talk about basketball, but now can I get on a rant?
Oh, you go ahead, man. Feel free. It's where we rant, bro. It's where we vent.
Yo, bro.
Let's have
it, I can't take this living on. Okay, let me not say this.
Living on the East Coast, time.
I love I am from New York. I love living on the East Coast, or rather yet, I just love being from New York. But these sports finishing at 1:00 in the morning
late
is
night,
ridiculous.
man.
I can't take it anymore.
When
I
you're
have
on the
to have a
Pacific
life
Coast.
outside of sports. I have to.
Got to move back to California, kid. And you have, you know what I'm saying,
Oh
earlier
my
games.
gosh.
You know what I'm saying? Things end earlier. You can still go out at night. Now, when these games over on the East Coast, ain't nothing else going on after that. You could barely order food. So, you know.
Bro, it's terrible. And then like I'm a single man, so I'm trying to watch the games.
Have
like
a little
I
date
I should be
after.
locked in. I should be locked in for these games, but nobody's trying to go on a date at 1 a.m. So it's and then recently too, you think you could avoid some games, like for a certain occasion, but now they got the fight game. You know what I'm saying? Every damn week, it's a big MMA fight. So you had Tank versus Garcia the other week. I'm like, yo, I can't take this anymore. Can we not schedule sports on Saturday nights past a certain time?
There's no date night for you, bro. After the games, you don't have to watch the games on date night. You have to have
It's
a sports
happy hour
girl.
dates.
You're gonna talk
I
to
can
a
only go
girl.
on dates during happy hour.
She better be a sports fan too, man. To make sure you have TVs nearby and you can watch the game. So sorry to hear that, man. But the Pacific Coast is another reason why I moved there and I call it home now. I do love that I'm from New York. I do love New York, but the reason why I moved to the Pacific or the West Coast and have Pacific time was another reason other than the weather. So yeah. But back to sports, man. Back to basketball.
Back to basketball. It's only happy hour games nowadays. Let me just say that. All right. Back.
The series that everybody's talking about, round one.
Yes.
The 8th seed upsetting the 1 seed. We thought we'd never see it. And I didn't think it was happening, but said after seeing, I never counted Miami out. I was never 1-2, but after seeing them play Atlanta in the play-in, I was like, maybe it's not this year. It's not their year. I don't see them. Any other year, it's like, all right, whatever seed they are, Jimmy's going to come and give whatever team hell, and he's going to have pieces around him. This year, I doubted him. Not going to lie to you. Will I do it again?
I don't blame you.
Again. The guy, I'll never doubt Jimmy again. The guy proved me wrong time and time again. Even playing against him, he's a pain in the ass, but watching him play and not just beat them, but bully them, talk trash, and come in their crib. And the way he was doing it, man, I watched the road tripping pod and RJ and Channing. I've never seen a good group of defenders like that get beat like that or get dogged like that. I said Milwaukee has a great group of defensive guys and a defensive team. And for Miami to continually score 120 points a game when they were the lowest scoring team in the league, Kevin Love's balling out, Kalo's balling out, Gabe Vincent balling out, Caleb Martin balling out. So Strus, they all came up in perfect time into, each game for them to win those games. Obviously, it's a different story, Giannis being hurt, but Giannis in the last game, the fourth quarter and overtime didn't look like himself. So the injury might have hurt him a little bit, but it's a different story. And of course, Coach Bud, shout out to him. My condolences to him and his family. Lost a brother this past week. But that's a tough series to go through with injuries and those type of things happening outside of basketball. So yeah, but all in all, as a sports fan, not knowing those things, it just looked like a complete meltdown.
Yeah, no, it was wild. It just we'll talk about that. We'll get to more about that series. I do want to do a full breakdown of Heat and Knicks, but yes, that is a shocker. It makes it feel like March Madness for sure. Yes. All right, so we're gonna spend about 5 minutes on each series. And try to give our audience a little insight into your 3-time NBA champion mind and my sports betting mind, and see what intrigues the ones who decide to listen and watch us. All right, so let's start Suns and the Nuggets, and let me tell you at least what is chief among my mind. And I couldn't believe it when I was like, when I was looking at all the series, because when I usually look at like the normal person, I'm like just looking at the names. Oh, they got KD, Devin Booker, Ayton and CP3. Like it's it's a wrap. But as well as Booker played in the first round, averaging 37 points per game, and as well as KD is capable of being, and I think I tweeted this out Saturday night, the Suns have a really big math problem. They simply don't shoot enough threes. And so
they're a mid-range team, man.
And what they do in the mid-range is spectacular. They could put I was thinking it to myself. I'm like, well, CP3, Booker, KD can just put Jokic in the pick and roll, and they can pull up for jumpers all game long. The
Not
problem
enough
is,
twos to beat them.
exactly.
Not
It's
enough
crazy
twos,
to me.
especially when they're hitting threes. And Jokic is such a good, listen, not only is he a good scorer, he's a great facilitator, find those guys to get open looks. When Aaron Gordon's hitting threes like that, obviously Jamal Murray's going to hit some. Bruce Brown may hit a few. Jeff Green once in a sprinkle, but KCP is going to be the guy to shoot it well. Michael Porter Jr. is going to shoot it very well. So they have threats from the three-point line and Jokic on the inside, and they push the pace. They may not shoot it well every night, but they put up more attempts from the three-point line than Phoenix does. KD and Book are mid-range killers, and so is CP. They're all mid. They take the most mid-ranges in the league. The reason why I thought they pick up Terrence Ross, and they have Shamit over there. They do have Damian Lee. They have a couple guys that can shoot, but they're not using them as well. I thought they picked them up was to give them space, provide space, and to get the three-point shooting, but they're not using them as well or as much as I thought they would.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. So yeah, okay. So the interesting thing about it for me, when you look at the Phoenix Suns, again, they're not shooting a lot of threes, and so it's just a math. It's literally a math problem. I did a little research, and per 100 possessions in this postseason, the Phoenix Suns are averaging 23.9, so basically 24 attempts from the three-point line.
When they need to be at least 30, right?
Bro, every team in the playoffs, Boston Celtics 38, Knicks 32, Warriors 39, Lakers 34, Kings 37, 76ers 37, Hawks 37, Nuggets 33, Nets 38, Bucks 39, Clippers 34, Cavs 33, 32 Heat, 33 Minnesota Timberwolves, 38 Grizzlies. And again,
wait, how much do they shoot again?
24.
And we as the Cleveland Cavaliers, who don't take a lot, shot 10 more than them
per 100 possessions.
Yes, per 100 possessions.
You got to think about how many possessions. You got to think about the pace of the actual game.
100%. But that's kind of crazy. I said all the playoff teams are way up there, and I'm shocked to hear even some of those teams that are averaging the numbers 38, 37, 36. That's unbelievable. But that shows you what the formula is. A lot of teams that will take and make the threes, you have to shoot a high clip, but at least take them. Put you in the conversation of being successful in this league today. We know it's a 3-and-D league now, 3 jumping and go, get up and down the floor and score as much as you can, obviously, because it's harder to play defense with some of the rules they've added. But you got to shoot the three well in order to be successful individual and a team in this league today. It's harder for teams that don't shoot it well, which is surprising to me.
It's a big math problem. End of the day, so like KD can have 50. But they're just as a team, I just don't know if they're going to score enough points. And I don't think they're going to lock down an elite offense like the Denver Nuggets. I think they have a big time problem, that's for sure. And I find it interesting because, again, this is why I appreciate people who look into the stats or people like you who know the X's and O's, because most people are going to say, oh, the bench sucks, right?
Yeah.
That's the bench sucks.
No, the bench does not suck.
There's just not enough opportunities that are being created for guys that you pointed out to exploit the coverages that
you have
KD
Shamit,
and
you
Booker
have Damian Lee, you have Terrence Ross. Those are really good guys that can shoot the ball very well. Even KD and Book can shoot the ball well from three. You just have to take some more, but you have to create and make plays and trust those guys. You got to play those guys a little more. Them also, I think, it's taking a toll on them playing 42 minutes a game for each one of those guys, 44 minutes. That's going to take a toll on KD and Book. I mean, Book is a little younger, KD's a little older, CP for sure is a little older. That's going to run a toll on DeAndre Ayton, big body, bigger guys playing that many minutes. It takes a toll on you. So I'm going to see how long they last. And said because the games, I think, in the next round, there's not as many games where there's 2 days in between.
Yeah.
So with the shorter turnaround, they played tonight. They play again, Monday, Tuesday or something. They play Monday or something. So it's not that much time in between. So with that quick turnaround, playing 42, 44 minutes a game with those guys, they're going to run out of gas quick, man. And hopefully that's why they hopefully win the first games on the front end so that you can, kind of recoup or recover. But if you lose game one and a quick recover in game two, if you don't get that one, it's going to be even harder for you guys now. You exerted so much energy in the front end of the games that the back end, you might not have the energy to even, to get your guys what they need to do and protect home.
Yeah, it's a big math problem. I don't know how they're going to pull it off. And it's weird, again, to be riding off Kevin Durant with a combination of Devin Booker. But at the same time, again, I just struggle to see how they're going to be able to outpace the Denver Nuggets. And we want to go to the next series. But if we're going to talk about the Nuggets, and the Suns. That's OD. That we already mentioned these two teams and didn't talk about what Jamal Murray is on right now. What's
He's on the bubble. He's on the bubble, Jamal. I mean, I don't want to call him as healthy Jamal because he's still a great hooper, and in the bubble he was unbelievable. So that's why it's hard to, I guess they're saying they doubt his game. I don't think they're doubting your game. It's just hard for anybody to live up to that standard that you set in the bubble. You averaging damn near 45, like it was ridiculous. And that's just that, even at any great player, LeBron James, Giannis, whoever you can, Kobe Bryant, Jordan, to average that, that puts you in a different type of realm of player to can do that consistently. So, but healthy Jamal is looking really good for them. He was balling tonight, and he's hitting some shots that I think he might have surprised. I'm not say the threes and pull-ups, but finishing in the lane, behind the back, finish over KD, over his shoulder, over his neck. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's a play. Like, it's a good day today. See what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting, man. If he keeps balling like that, it's going to be very, very hard to beat them.
Yeah, he's been cooking like that. I went into the stats. He's been cooking like that pretty much since March. But I don't think a lot of people were paying attention because the Nuggets themselves were losing a lot of games since March. Maybe just because they had the number 1 seed locked up. But he was getting right for the playoffs, even while the team wasn't looking too good during that.
For sure. But even then, it's like, he's averaging 27, I think it was.
He's averaging 27 now in the playoffs. Okay. 27.2, 6.4.
And in March, what was he averaging in March?
Around, I don't know if it was that high, but basically March he was playing at his best since the bubble. And I don't think people caught on to what he was doing in March, again, because they were losing a lot relative to what they were supposed to be. So, it's going to be interesting. We'll see how it all pans out. And best believe when we get back on the microphone, we'll have an update, probably the middle of the series. I'd be damned if it's a sweep. Well, we won't even have enough time for it to be a sweep.
No,
all right, let's move on. Let's move on to the Eastern Conference, a team that Danny's very much familiar with, the Philadelphia 76ers. And it's the big elephant in the room. Once again, Joel Embiid not at full tilt for the NBA playoffs. It dates back to 2018, his injury history in the playoffs. Danny, give me your major thoughts before I throw out some stats at you.
That's a tough one, man, for him, because I think even with him, it's a tough matchup for them. Boston has beat them, throughout the regular season, of course, in the playoffs before, with a healthy Joel. So without him, that's an MVP caliber player. That's missing 30 and 10 right there. So when you're missing 30 and 10 and trying to figure out ways to make it up, surprising to me that Philly was one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the league this year. So they have generated some good attempts from the three and some makes with the rosters they had and with him being out. So Tobias, James, Tyrese going to have to step up. Obviously George, PJ, of course, the other guys too, DeAnthony Melton. They have some pieces, but without them, it's going to be a hard matchup for Boston. I guess the only thing they have is Boston went, 6 games with Atlanta, so they might be a little fatigued. And I said, I don't know in terms of health-wise or who they're playing, if Grant Williams is going to play or not, or if you have some coaching issues or issues off the floor with rotation-wise. But yeah, I think that matchup's going to be very tough for them with Joel, and especially without. It's going to be hard for them to even compete or stick with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, you're saying it a lot nicer than I will. The Sixers are done, bro. It's over. I think the Celtics get the job done in 5. Honestly, I think if they want to,
Joel doesn't play
done in 5.
They could.
Even if Joel plays,
they're all supposed to beat Atlanta in 5, and Atlanta that shows to me that Boston still has a little bit of maturity left in them. They still have some polishing to do of letting certain teams. They're not one of those teams that put their foot on the gas, keep you down when they should. So I think if Joel comes back after game 1 or 2, whatever it is, I still think Philly can win 2 games and it goes to 6 at least, with or without him. But with him, I think it's a 6-game series for sure. But without him, maybe 5 without him.
Him out there, even with him out there, bro, it's a 5-game series if the Celtics want to, and I would have a feeling, considering their grudge, quote unquote, I think they would want to.
Now that they win that series, considering they win that series that quickly, do you think now that would you say it's a cakewalk now, since they have in the Eastern Conference Finals, they're not matching up with Milwaukee anymore? How do you see this playing out?
We'll get to that when we talk about my Knicks. We'll get to that when we talk about the Knicks. But the thing is, I mean, it. Obviously, you played with Joel. Like when you guys played against the Celtics, it was one of the rare teams that wasn't going to double team him. So the 4 assists per game and the multitude more of scoring opportunities he's creating against the Nets, he's not creating that against the Celtics because they're not double teaming him. And okay, and most times you're like, oh, you're not going to double team Joel. He's about to put 40 on your head. But if Joel's not right, and you saw it last year when you played with him, like if he's not right, sometimes it's really going to show on the court from his production standpoint. So I think they're in a very much of a big trouble here with that.
For sure. I don't think that's the issue. Even Joel putting 40 on your head, I just don't think they can score enough or they have enough defense to match what Boston brings. I said the Jalen Jason matchup, they don't have enough defenders to guard those guys. Marcus Smart is still, he ain't nowhere to sniff at. You have, Al Horford stretching the floor at the 5, which keeps Joel out the paint. Robin Williams, he's a lob threat, shot blocker, protect the rim. Grant Williams stretch the floor. Brogdon come off the bench scoring. Derek White, can score, shoot from 3. There's not many guys that can match up or guard those guys. So that's where the problem comes in for me more than anything. It's not about Joel scoring. Even if Philly plays well and scores as well as they do, I still don't think they can keep up or match with the Boston, can bring to the table.
2018, Boston won their series 4-1. 2020, Boston won 4-0. This season, Celtics 3-1 versus the 76ers. The game that they lost, end of the season, no Jaylen Brown. It's a flat out matchup problem. As good as the Sixers have been this year, I really think they're going to have an issue with Boston. You did mention though Boston, and you mentioned, do I think they should be the favorite or cakewalk to the Eastern Conference Finals? Here's my issue with Boston. Earlier in the show we talked about the Suns not liking the 3 enough or not taking enough threes. I think the Boston Celtics take way too many threes. In that game 5 against Atlanta, they finished 7 of 13. 7 of 13 from the free throw line. 13 free throws in a clinching game at home. Looked up some stats. I'm all inundated with stats, Danny. The Boston Celtics shoot 31.6% from the 3-point line in their losses, which is actually the 6th worst mark in the NBA. And it just makes me think, again, they just love to shoot the threes, regardless of the circumstance in the game. They're going to live and die by it, which I know there's certain teams that probably should be programmed like that because they don't have talent, the caliber of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But when you got Jason Tatum should be averaging 15 free throws himself in big-time games. Jaylen Brown should be getting to the free throw line 10 times in big-time games. That's my issue with them.
100%. I don't think but I think they shoot well enough. They have enough scoring, even when they shoot poorly. Obviously, those are in losses. A lot of people shoot poorly in losses. But I think
still the 6th
even the
worst
wins
mark,
that they don't shoot well in, they take enough and make enough. And those guys are still going to get their numbers, whether they get free throws or not. I think that you do need somebody to score and get to the free throw line for you when somebody get your basket or if things are not going well shooting-wise. But they have so many guys around them that can shoot well, so many guys that can score without getting to the free throw line. That creates a problem. And I said, even when they come out of you said that Sixers are done. When they beat the Sixers, they come out and play Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks and Miami. They're not scoring it. Now, unless Miami's turned over a new leaf and started averaging 120-something points a game, they're not scoring
in the playoffs.
We'll see if they do in the New York. I don't know if they can sustain that for 3 rounds, but I don't see them scoring enough. Even if Miami Boston shoots poorly, I don't see them beating Boston in a 7-game series of them taking too many threes. They still score enough with all the threats that the pieces they have on the roster to even when they shoot a bad night, I think they can still keep up with the teams that score the least in the East, which is Miami's one of the bottom half of it, and I think New York is probably they play a slow-paced game.
New York Knicks 3-1 against the Boston Celtics this year. One of those wins without Jalen Brunson in Boston got the job done. Again, I think the Celtics, look, Tatum and Brown, spectacular, but I would just love, even in that series winning game where Jason Tatum apologized to Janet Jackson for having to push a concert back. Even in that game, if you go back and look at those last 5 possessions, one of them was just a pull-up 3 that was contested pretty much for no reason.
The immaturity. So I give you that. They have some immaturity, and they do have some bad possessions, some bad shots. That's what extends the series longer than it should, but it does not eliminate them from series. They're still going to get to 4 before the other team does. They're going to play 4 better games than they play, 4 worse games against certain teams. And they may let certain teams that they have no business in a series, like Philly, might go to 6 or 7 because they do some BS and shoot too many threes, or they shoot bad ones when they're not shooting it well. So it's like when you're not shooting well, you got to get to the free line to do other things. They haven't made that adjustment sometimes, which hurts them. But I still think in a 7-game series, not many teams are gonna.
That's
in the East
that's
and
for sure.
Eastern Conference. Now that Milwaukee's out, I wouldn't say it's a cakewalk, but he said if the Philly's done, I think Philly's gonna be the tougher matchup for them than anybody else outside of that in terms of the Knicks and Miami. Miami's always, you can't count them out, can't count out Jimmy, but I just don't see them sustaining, either one of those teams sustaining that type of offensive push, through 3 rounds.
I was one of those people who was trying to calm down. I'm in New York, and I'm like always been a realist. I'd like to think I've always been a realist with my sports. Mm-hmm. And I'm here, and I've been trying to tell people before the playoffs started, calm down, just be happy that you've made it. Knicks are in the playoffs, just be happy.
And you're being a Knicks fan and being excited and seeing the light and thinking that they can actually get to the finals.
But people were saying like, "Oh, we could go to the East." So you think
they can beat Miami? That's what you're saying.
Oh, they better beat Miami. They absolutely better beat Miami. But I do think they have a great chance of beating Boston. I won't put money on it. I'm not saying that they will beat Boston, but I think they have a really good chance. Again, Julius, I think, has to be healthy. Maybe for him, what he saw with Evan Mobley, and we'll talk about it, is the worst of what he's talking about. Boston, they're not getting
past Miami. There's no way Miami comes in, beats the dog shit out of Milwaukee, and says we're going to lose to the Knicks. That's not going to happen. That doesn't happen. Like, the way Jimmy's and the way they've been hooping, Miami better beat the Knicks the way the way they hooped in the first round. There's no way the Knicks are not beat Miami. You think regular season does not matter, bro? Just as you've seen.
No, regular season doesn't matter. No, regular season doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Knicks ain't beating either one of those teams. They're not beating either one of those teams.
The Heat were the worst team point by points per game in the NBA during regular season. They're number 1 in playoff scoring. They were bottom 5 in pace all year long. In the playoffs, they are number 1 in pace. So, yes, throw the regular season out the window. I have no idea what Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler have cooked up for this second round against the Knicks. That's my big worry, for sure.
Well, they cooked up Milwaukee, and they're about to cook up the Knicks. The Knicks are not – they better beat Miami. They're not – if they're playing like that, they're not beating Miami.
Of course. Well, first of all, yes. If Jimmy Butler plays at the same level he did against Milwaukee, then of course the Milwaukee.
Even if the others play at the same level, if Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Kevin Love, those guys didn't play at that level.
But I am banking on Josh. I might have to give you the stats, but the stats of Jimmy Butler at MSG or playing against Josh Hart or being guarded by Quentin Grimes is a very ugly picture, Danny. I'm telling you, I could look. I
bet you that picture looks a lot different. In these playoff series, it's going to look the total opposite of what it looked like during the regular season. So
for sure, it can.
We will see. Mind you,
we will see.
Julius might not be 100%. Quentin Grimes might not be 100%. So we'll see how that goes. Even if they are 100%, I don't give a damn. Josh Hart numbers, I don't get Quentin Grimes. I don't give a damn what the regular season numbers look like. I've seen a lot of guys play Jimmy well in the regular season because Jimmy been chilling in the regular season. It's mostly Jimmy not being Jimmy, not about them guarding him. He is a different person in the playoffs, and them dudes are not going to guard him the same way they guard him in the regular season.
Time shall tell, my friend.
I will say the advantage is this. Tibbs is the advantage. It's the only advantage they have. Tibbs knowing Jimmy and him not letting Jimmy beat them. And I've seen teams still say, we're not going to let Jimmy beat us, and he's still done it time and time again. And I think he's got the guys around him on board. They're playing at a high level, and they're going to be scoring 120 points. Knicks averaged 104 points against us, 103 points against us, I think, total. It's not enough.
It will be enough. It will be more. They'll score more if the Miami Heat are intent at playing at the fastest pace at the NBA, which, again, is what they were doing in the Milwaukee Bucks season. If they want to play that
it's not New York's favor. It's not in New York's favor to play at that pace. Mr. Robinson could not get up and down the floor at that pace. He's not going to be able to rebound as well at that pace or be as effective. They play at a slower pace, and it's not in their favor to play at that pace in New York.
We got to take a break. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so DG, you are figuring that Jimmy Butler continues to do Jimmy Butler things, and they take out the New York Knicks. I think the Knicks get the job done. I think they have enough defenders for Jimmy. You pointed out Tibbs, knowing what Jimmy could do, and I think the big factor here, somehow, some way, and we're going to talk about it in just a moment, somehow, some way, the Knicks were able to get by you and the Cavaliers with pretty much only Jalen Brunson playing at a high level. I think they're gonna need Julius Randle for this series because I think Spoelstra might cook up some things to make it life difficult for Brunson. But Randle, for the most part, should have an advantage. If it's Kevin Love guarding him, if it's Caleb Martin guarding him, and if they decide to put Bam on him, as you saw, that should mean Mitchell Robinson kills him on the offensive glass. So we'll see how it plays out. You already know I'm very much excited to watch that series. I'll be in the Garden for each and every
For
game.
sure. I think Bam,
fun.
you sleeping on Bam, man. That guy's been hooping. I don't think Mitch Robinson kills him like that on the glass. We will see. I also think that they're going to play at a faster pace where they have to take Mitch Robinson out. They might play 5 out where Mitch Robinson won't be as effective. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how Tibbs does this and also how Spo does it. I think he's a great coach and he knows how to, change the scenario a little bit to give it, more difficult for the Knicks to guard them.
That's going to be the fun part. I think you got two really good head coaches, especially when it comes to just switch up the game plans and defensive identities. It's going to be a good one. I've been talking about the Cavaliers and how the season ended, and we're still not going to get to it because there's some other interesting things that happened, but we will talk about how the Cavaliers season ended in just a moment. But I wanted to get your opinion on the team that you were on before you played for the Cavaliers, and no, not the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, who who lost to the Los Angeles Lakers. Season is a wrap, and obviously you can't omit the fact that Steven Adams didn't play. You can't omit the fact that Brandon Clark didn't play. But end of the day, it's over. LeBron and AD got them up out of there. 26 blocks in 6 games for AD.
Yeah.
Big time performance. I just want to point out 2 things. One, Ja Morant in his end of season press conference basically alluding to what his actions off the court had a big time impact on the team. Let's just start with Ja. Where do things go for him and his leadership and his role as the Memphis Grizzlies superstar? How do things go from here? And what do you think he learned from this whole
I think the whole group
season?
Yeah, I think the whole group
the West to getting quote unquote sent away, everything.
For sure. I think a lot of the media, social media of replaying the antics and the sayings, I think is to try to teach them a life lesson of, respect the game, respect the basketball guys. Don't talk, if you can't back it up type scenario. And, because it's always going to come back to haunt you, So I think for them, I think there's going to be a big leap of maturity for the fact that he acknowledges the fact that off the court has affected them. Not just him, but the group. Obviously said Steven Adams, Brandon Clark hurt, Luke Kennard out. Even Ja was out for a couple games. They had some injuries. But I think everything happens for a reason. I think they need a wake-up call. It's a big wake-up call for them that you're not there yet. You haven't done it yet. You guys are really good all year, and anything can happen. So you have to be humble. You have to respect your opponents, respect the people that you're going through. Things can change at any point in the season. These teams that weren't as good before trade deadline got a little better after trade deadline. And obviously, you got to give it up to AD. AD's playing like AD, like he should be. And this is the team. This is the guy that they've been looking to see for the last couple of years to take them, to at least the Western Conference Finals or the finals. If he playing like that, they're going to be a lot to deal with. 26 blocks, rebounds, being a force in the paint and on the rim. It's hard to beat them when you got him. And, of course, Bron does what he does and other guys playing at a level. But for Memphis, I think I don't know what they do with Dillon. He may not. Sign.
That's where I wanted to get to next.
He might not sign back. But even with or without him, I see Ja taking that leadership role. Jaren has made a jump with staying out of foul trouble and getting smarter with his leadership and off the court. I think them seeing the social media, how much they're dogging them social media, lets them know, like, you know what, and maybe Taylor might talk to him too, like, let's not let's speak quietly and carry a big stick this year, or we could talk trash on the court, but in the media. We don't need to do that. We don't need to poke bears and that type of thing. So that's not the way to go about it. We already have a target on our chest because of how good we are. We don't need extra motivation or give teams extra motivation to kick our ass. Now, if that's what you want to do, cool. I respect it. It's already hard to do. To win a championship. It's already hard to make the playoffs. It's even harder when you got a target on your chest and you're being hunted because of multiple reasons. Not just because you're good, but because you're talking shit to half the league and they don't like you. So that's why it's even harder for said Golden State and Draymond. You got to respect those guys. They've done it 4 times with the target on their backs for numerous years, and the way Draymond talks trash to other people in certain teams. But they keep playing that clip of Draymond talking about how bad it is to play Sacramento. It's going to be interesting to see how this game 7 goes, because if they lose this game 7, you better believe that barbershop talk that he had of him talking about playing the Kings, is one of the worst damn teams in the league. It's hard to get up for a Monday night playing against the Kings. That's going to come back to haunt him. So I think you said that those are life lessons that we all grow, even as adults. Draymond's not a young guy, but you learn from these life lessons of, maybe I shouldn't close the door on that business opportunity. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this situation because it could change within 10 months. You never know how things are going to happen and pan out in this league. And, the basketball gods will humble you, or, the league, the season, the reality will humble you. Life will humble you when you go through it. So I think I learned that at a young age with, being in and out of the league, playing overseas and playing for Pop, respecting the game, respecting the basketball gods. And I think that's something that some of these younger guys like Ja and the Memphis Grizzlies will learn, and it'll make them, more mature, better, smarter with their approach to the game, to the media, without, obviously, them ducking the media after a couple games losses, something you shouldn't do. They probably hear it, getting slack for that. But just other things on the court and how it can affect your season, affect your group, your team, and it could just change the whole course of how things go for you.
Yeah, personally, I don't want them to change one thing. I love when they talk in the media.
I do too. I just like it when you just keep it on the court. Dez is a guy, keep it in between the lines. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You don't have to go to social media. Now it's extra. Extra antics. You're a fan, so you love that. And
yes.
As a fan, you love it. But as and as a competitor, you might love it too. But when you're trying to play in it, it's just that it makes it more difficult, man. You don't need to do that. You don't need the antics. You don't need the extra stuff. Play basketball. I said, I love that the fact that they have an edge. I love the fact that they talk, keep it in between the lines, but you don't have to do WWE stuff and, back in reality TV show type situation where it makes it even harder and you look more of an ass when you do lose or when you come up short. So yeah, I said, I love the trash talking, but I'd rather just keep it between the lines. Either way, they do it how they do it. I said, if they could do it that way, more respect to them, because it's even harder to win when you're talking trash to the league. That's why, some of the greats are who they are. And that's why they're known as the greats, because Mike did it. And he still, he may not did it in the media, but he did it. He kept it between the lines. Some guys might have done it in the media. But yeah, Shaq might have done it in the media. Chuck might have done it in the media. It's not an easy task to do, man. But so they're a great team. They're going to grow from it. And I think they'll bounce back and be even better next year, especially with guys coming back healthy. Hopefully Brandon Clark comes back, sooner than later. I know Steven Adams will be back. And Luke Kennard, they have some pieces. I don't know what they're going to do with this offseason with Dillon. But they got some decisions to make.
Yeah, so let's talk about Dillon Brooks, an all NBA caliber defender without a doubt. Whatever you want, first team, second team, whatever you want to do, he's in that running for sure. But we saw this playoffs that his inability to shoot really hurt the Grizzlies, and it was on the Summer Jam screen. 1, because he was talking a lot in the media. 2, because he was talking a lot in the media, and it really, like when you're playing bad and you talk trash, it makes it whatever you're doing elevated, whether you're playing well or you're playing poorly.
Yes.
And so now the Grizzlies have themselves a big time issue with him, because now it's going to be interesting to see what is he worth on the open market, because you could say, bro, this is a top 15, 20 perimeter defender. And if he gets an average 3-point shot, if he can get that back, or some relevance of his 3-point stroke, that's a quality asset to have on your team. So, and he could say it was just a blip. Like, I'll be better. Like, I'm still maturing. So he might expect a certain number value. Grizzlies might say, nah, bro, like you're not there yet. And you're making life harder for our team. I find it very interesting because we're not going to publicly negotiate his contract.
For sure. But he is who he is, man.
He could be a $25 million player, or some people could see him as a $5 million player. And you could make an argument for both. It's crazy.
For sure. I think, you said, I don't think he's that low of 5. I think, at least 10 to 12 at the very little.
I'm not saying he's a 5.
And I think
I'm just saying
between 10 and 20. You say 10 to 20, I say probably
a good negotiator is good, but a good negotiator, right? A good negotiator, which is I expect all front offices to be. can make the argument to him. We see you as like a $5 million player. We see you as a one-way guy who is an issue off the court for us.
100%.
That's what a good negotiator does.
And maybe, yes, I won't say it's his personality is not a blip. Maybe the shooting is. Yes, he can get better at shooting. He can better at scoring. He has had some years where he's shot and scored well and shot better for sure. I think he definitely could be that. And I think mentally, the season took a toll on him. Certain things took a toll on him, which got in his head mentally, which, he wasn't himself offensively. Defensively, he's going to bring it every night and give you that edge and scrap for you. But it's at him maturing. He's seen as a veteran now. He's 26, 27, 28, I think now at this point. I don't see them seeing as, he's going to mature and change at this point in his career. He's going to be who he is, and you have to accept him for that. But yes, I do think he's a guy that could be a plus for your team, especially with that edge. He holds guys accountable. He will come in and fight every night defensively. And, on the floor, you're going to get everything you got from him. Now, offensively, that may change. That may up and down, but I think he's a good player addition for your team. So we'll see where he lands and see what the Grizzlies value him at. But I think he was needed and necessary for their group, especially with the young group, because he was one of those veteran guys that held guys accountable and made sure that guys were on top of their job. Now they may find somebody else in the summer to do that, or somebody that may be cheaper, somebody that may be more mature, older, or whatever, or less headache to them, where they may say less headache. Because I don't think he's a headache in the organization or off the court with them. I know he just, he's a competitor.
From the outside, that's how it's going to be portrayed, for sure.
That's how it's portrayed. He's not a headache. He competes at a high level, talks shit on the court, and sometimes in the media a little bit. So to me, I don't see it as a headache, but we'll see how they portray him. We'll see how other teams, see his value. And so it'll be interesting for him. So I'm wishing him the best. I know he's a good player. I know he deserves a good contract in this league and, continue to be a starter in this league. So we'll see, what team values that.
Yeah, it's I find his free agency fascinating because of all of those factors. Who he can be, who he was, what the middle ground might be for what he can be. It's a very fascinating thing. All right, so now let's get down to brass tacks and talk about the series that you participated in. The Cavaliers Knicks season is over. What was seen as a good season has very much ended up being a disappointing end for Cleveland, considering if you guys lost to the Knicks, I don't think they would have been seen as a disappointment. But I do think there is a more negative portrayal of how this season went now because of how the series played out.
The way we lost.
Yes.
You mean the way we lost? How we lost, the way we lost in 4-1. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no Quentin Grimes for the last 2 games. Julius Randle was a shell of himself, and part of that credit goes to Evan Mobley, but part of that was just because he was injured as well. Like, we can't ignore that fact. But it was getting dominated on the offensive rebounds. It was how would I say this? It would seem at times there was a lack of fight, or there wasn't too many moments of consistent good play. They were all in blips.
Yes.
Evan Mobley not getting to the free throw line. Darius Garland having some really hard times scoring the ball and having some real hard times playing defense against Jalen Brunson. As part of this gig that I have with you, it's my job to peruse Twitter. Twitter was not very happy. Cavalier fans not very happy with JB Bickerstaff's decisions, whether it was the game plan and maybe trapping Brunson, which led to RJ Barrett having himself a couple of good games, or it was the rotations, or it was the actual assignments. It felt as if, again, the season for the Cavs on the outset, if you looked at it, you got a superstar in the building, you got the number 4 seed, you got home court advantage for the first round. It all felt like really good, regardless of the end. But how it ended now, I think really changes the perception to the point where I've listened to like national podcasts already starting to talk about Donovan Mitchell's free agency because the Cavaliers can sign him to an extension this summer. And if they try to, Donovan, rightly so, should say no, because he can make more money if he plays it out. But it's just interesting how everything, all the good juju, as you would say it, has kind of quelled because of how it ended. First, your thoughts on just like that encapsulation, and then just get into the nitty-gritty of what you saw from the series.
For sure. 100%, man. It was a hell of a season. And I was only here for part of it. So I think that's why people were a little disappointed in how it ended and the way it ended. Not how it ended, but the way it ended. They had a great regular season, 50 games, 50 wins coming from Sedaris. I think his first year, maybe 14 or 19 wins. Coming from that and then making playoffs, being a 4 seed, having home court advantage is unbelievable for this group. They're very young. But the things that you see in the blips of things that you said were good and there's just a lot of bad of the competition had to do with the fact that they're young. This was their first playoffs, and it showed, glaringly that not just for the players, but the coaching staff as well, that not a lot of those guys some of them have been assistants on coach, but this is a real playoff series, their first playoff series. JB is a head coach and adjusting and seeing his players, how they adapt and adjust to it, and how some of them, the lights got bright for me. Some of them said it publicly, like, the lights were brighter than I thought. And it's just unexpected. I said the fact that we got beat, not just like on shooting, and we got beat on the boards, we got beat on the scrap game, the competitive fight game, which made, I think, fans disappointing. And, I think
that's exactly it.
That's what it is. And it's just the toughness. And I think a lot of it said the lights are bright. And so the fact that we were number one defense throughout most of the year and not be able to rebound, that's part of defense. Us be able not to do that just shows that, Jared and Evans had a tough series with Mitchell, getting him off the glass, but they had a lot of guys on the glass. Julius Hartenstein, Hart, all those guys were tremendous for them on the offensive board. And they shot well too. Jalen did his thing, and coverages were different, lineups were different. Obviously, when you have a young team and certain guys are not ready for it, JB has to then figure out, what am I doing? Who do I play now? Like, how do I fix these lineups, or who is prepared? Who's actually ready to scrap? Who's ready to play? Which is hard. But all in all, it just was a rookie type of playoff atmosphere for the Cleveland Cavaliers. For us, we were very young, and it showed. And that was a domino effect to, guys not playing into JB's rotations, to JB's, calls of what we're going to do with Brunson, the traps, this and other, how we're going to guard them, because he wasn't sure what night, who we're going to get. So all in all, I said I was proud of those guys. They're great. I think it's a big summer for some of them. Had an amazing season. And I think some of them will grow from it. I know Don, I said he may not sign an extension, whatever. He does like the atmosphere. He loves the organization. He loves what the fans bring and what everything comes with this organization. I know he enjoys his time and a breath of fresh air and a fresh start here. So, he's just looking to see how he can build off of it. But all in all, I think he was disappointed. I think a lot of us were disappointed individually and as a group on how that series went. Not in the season, just how that series went, because we showed in game 2 how well we can compete and fight with them. And to not even at least go 6 or 7 games for us was a disappointment. So yeah, I knew the talent they had. I know what they're capable of. And I knew if they played the way they were supposed to play, we could have I thought in my mind, could have beat them. I thought, the talent matched up, for the most part. It's going to come down to execution and coaching. And I don't think we executed well. I don't think we made, a lot of the right decisions. Also, because the execution didn't happen, because the guys weren't ready, coaching had to change, how he was coaching. So yeah, all in all, I think it was a disappointment on an individual. For me anyway, I was disappointed in the fact that individually, it was up and down season for me. As a group, I was happy for the crowd, but I was disappointed how we performed in that series as a group, and individually how I was not able to help the way I wanted to help, or help the way I thought I could help. I think they were, coming in halfway through the season, it's tough, trying to adapt, trying to adjust, learn. I thought I learned the system pretty quickly, but to gain a coach's trust, and said I had COVID, so a lot of things have happened. But I said for me, the second time around, I thought I'd have an opportunity or show or do something differently than my first time as a rookie. But it kind of was the same for me, and that's just due to a lot of things that we can't control. But a disappointing series, not season, disappointing series as a group, and for me individually is disappointing the fact that I didn't get a chance to, or opportunity to show that I can help or be able to help the way I thought I could, and that's just due to lack of time with the group.
Yeah, no, I found myself. It was a very interesting whole series for me in general, again, because I, as we talked about, I'm rooting for the Knicks, but obviously I want to see your success. The game that you guys did win, you played 20 minutes. You only had 3 points, but you played 20 minutes. And I think I might have tweeted something along the lines of, spacing matters. Like it helps other teams play well. And so, again, being on Twitter, I have to ingest everything that's on Twitter, the good and the bad. And so there are some people saying, yeah, Danny in the lineup helped the spacing. No more Isaac Okoro. But then there's the sentiment that you don't play defense or you're not, or there's a sentiment that you're not a good defender from some people. There's a sentiment that you're not the defender that you were anymore, which is obvious. I found it interesting to see, or as I watched you play defense in the series, I found it interesting to see people say, "Oh, well, you can't play Danny because he's not going to play defense. You can't play Isaac because he can't shoot." And it's one, again, it shows some of the issues that maybe JB had in itself. But I also, if we talk about it as a personal level, I was annoyed that there is a belief that you can't play defense anymore. And okay. So let me see how. I mean,
you're not the only one, kid. That stigma about me is weird, and it's something that said in my pride that gets to me, because I said when it comes to a point where people are like, I'm attacking him, that's where I'm like, all right, maybe it's time for me to hang it up. And I don't think I'm at that point anywhere near. I think that I'm still very capable of moving, sliding my feet, and playing defense. I think, I played the 4, so I'm a guard to Julius. I don't think they trust me with the knee said and guarding guards. But I still think I'm very capable of sliding my feet. And of course, not at the level when I was 26 years old. I'm about to be 36 in a second. But I'm still very capable of sliding my feet and playing defense. And with the guys that we have on our group, it's not like you have to play a bunch of defense of, doing it all. All I have to do is take away 3-point line and the pull-up line and send them to Evan and Jared Allen down there. So I think with the group, when you have bigs like that, it's easy for you to play defense. And I think what hurt us a lot was Jalen Brunson being able to put us to sleep and get his mid-range game, put us to sleep, shoot threes, and us not, trusting the guys behind us. And obviously the defensive rebounds, when we're going to help and they're getting the offensive rebounds for them, killed us. But yes, when it comes to getting over screens and guarding guards, I'm still very capable. And I think, sometimes it takes me and I haven't got a chance to get a rhythm or show or prove that, but it takes some time for me to prove it to myself as well. But there was moments throughout the season where I played, very little time. But even when I was in Memphis, I had to guard, Fred VanVleet coming off a ball screen, slide my feet a little bit. I was like, all right, my knee can still do this. But I was never given an opportunity to show that or prove that I can guard or play defense. But don't get twisted. I'm still very capable of playing defense. Of course, not at the level I was when I was in my 20s, but I'm still very, at a capable knee is good enough and legs are good enough to move, slide, contest shots at a level which is, just as good, if not better than most of the league. Not a lot of guys are playing defense out there anyway.
That was the thing that was frustrating me. So if I believe that you're not the defender you were anymore, yeah, of course I would agree with that. But I think people were not factoring in where you were coming from defensively. It wasn't as if you were a bad defender and now you had the ACL and LCL surgery. So now
I'm a terrible defender.
A terrible defender.
I was a very good defender. And now
you went from elite to a very good defender. So even if the impact of the ACL and LCL is not overcome yet, which obviously you've been able to be back on the court for the most part, you've overcome it. Even if that's factored in, that just makes you at the worst an average defender. Yeah,
an average defender. At the very worst, I'm an average defender, which I still think I'm better than average. But that's still better than most guys in the league are not good defenders or average defenders. And I'm not the guy that go like, oh, we're gonna attack this guy and pick and roll. We're gonna do this or that. No, that's not happening, Pim. We're not doing that. We're not at that level yet. Maybe in a couple of years or so, but I still have good legs where I could still be an average defender in this league. So for them to not even, but the world to see that, and coaching staff too, not to have that faith in me or trust in me yet, it's kind of disappointing a little bit. It does hurt the pride some. But back to the drawing board for me this summer. So I'm continuing to rehab. I have something to prove, and I have to show that I can still move, I can still slide, I can still play defense. I damn sure can still shoot the ball, so that is not going anywhere.
Yeah,
but
that's been sure.
I have to reinvent myself and reprove myself to these people and remind them that I can still do this at a high level, and I still think it proved to myself as well when I was out there playing the 2 games that I played at the end of the season. I can still run, I can still move, I can still contest, I can still shoot, I can still go down the floor. I can and some guys like people I think are a little weary, like, are you hurt? Are you healthy? No, I'm 100% healthy. I can play. It's just the opportunity just never presented itself. So we will see, how it shapes out this summer, and hopefully, we find a home or a place that believes in it or values it and can see that I'm very capable of doing that.
I think that was the most frustrating thing for me about your Cavalier experience. It felt as if you were never really given a chance to fail. I'd rather have seen you failed.
Let me get cooked before you say he can't defend.
Yeah.
That has not yet happened yet. I'm a foul out before I get cooked. That's just me and the pride of me. I'm a foul. But let me foul out, let me get cooked, and then say, all right, he really can't defend. But hey, either way, he believed that this is a group that he's had. He trusted in his guys, and I understand that. Said I haven't got a chance to prove or show that. He wanted to give them opportunity to show themselves their first playoff, series. These young guys that he believes in and rode with all season. So and he, after that point, he's like, all right. And at that point, I think it was a little late for it to be implemented with a group that I'm not used to playing with, or they're not used to playing with me. So it was tough all around. And I think we were kind of behind the 8 ball on that. We had a disadvantage with that sense of it. But we won the game 2. We played, we competed. Game 3, I think I played like 12 minutes, which was tough. We were just trying to find some shooting. I got 2 looks, rushed 1. They weren't great, missed them. Then from there, I 4 minutes, didn't get any looks and didn't play much. So it was just tough, man. But we're just scrambling at that point, trying to figure out anything. And, at some point I thought, maybe he might experiment and throw out 5 smalls, but, and it didn't happen either way. Give up to New York Knicks. They outplayed us. They out everythinged us in every category, and they won the series in 5 because of how prepared they were. And, you can see it in us. We weren't prepared.
Yeah, no, it's the Knicks obviously definitely felt like they had more tools, or at least more locked into what they were going to do. And even if they don't have more tools, even if they weren't as locked in, they did bring a level of force that Jared Allen has admitted to he wasn't able to meet. And obviously, big summer for Evan, big summer for the front office as well, to kind of really think about the longevity of a 2 big offense, and how that could survive going forward, is particularly wondering where Isaac Okoro factors into the whole situation. Will he be able to be reliable? He might be able to. This is almost a thing that I was thinking about with Matisse. Obviously, it's a little bit different. Matisse is probably more of a dynamic defender and probably worse of a shooter. But I remember thinking about when you were playing with Matisse, I was like, damn, bro, he's going to have a whole season of shooting over 40% before he gets before he provides any gravity on the court. And that's going to be the situation that Isaac is in. He's going to have a season of like 38% plus with volume from the 3-point line before it truly creates space for Donovan and Darius to go off. It's, again, a lot of positive for the Cavaliers season, but now they are faced with like real questions, things that have to be solved if they want to maximize the window that they created traded for Donovan Mitchell. Yeah,
well, we'll see what they do, decisions they make. I think they were very happy with the season and content with what has happened, transpired, even though the loss was disappointing. I think they just want to build, and they have a great group, they have a great foundation, so they'll build on it. But we'll see how, it said even Don in the series couldn't really be himself, and I'm sure that's going to play a part in what moves they make, because he felt like he didn't have the space or the lineups, or wasn't prepared, or didn't know, different things thrown at him. He wasn't able to feel comfortable doing what he does. And Knicks threw everything at him. They were like, you're not going to beat us. We're going to make other people beat him. And it was hard for him to get a rhythm and even feel like himself because of how things played out. So it'll be interesting to see how they build around him and build around Evan and Darius. Those are the 3 guys that are for sure. And then see if they bring back Karras. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be an interesting summer for a lot of teams.
For sure. All right, so let's wrap this up real quick. Let's try and do this as fast as possible. Okay, let's just act as if it was the outset of the series. I'll ask you the series, the winner, and the games. I got Suns, Nuggets. I'm taking the Nuggets in 6.
I'm gonna stick with even though after watching the game tonight, it may change a little bit, but I'm gonna stick with my pick. I'm gonna go with Phoenix in 7.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Sixers in 5. No, sorry, my bad. I'm going with the Celtics in 5, regardless of the health status of Joel Embiid.
I'm going with Boston in 6.
I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. I'm going to go with the Knicks in 6, which is tough because that means they would have to clinch it on the road, but New York fans will be packing out that arena in Miami. They actually, 62,000 people left in the state of New York last year to become Miami residents, or at least change their license plates or their driver's license from New York to Florida. So
don't give a damn. That ain't helping them. Miami in 6.
Okay. All right. And then we'll discuss what the Lakers series next time we get back on air. But I told you this via text, and now that your playing portion of the season is over, I'll say it here on Wax as well. Obviously, the Cavaliers series did not go the way that the team wanted and you personally wanted, but as we've watched the history of people come back from ACL and LCL injuries, I think the fact that you were able to be on a roster, the fact that people, even when you got traded, there was still a team that still wanted you and you still had interest. I think that's great because a lot of people would have just sat out the year or would have been told to sit out the year or wouldn't have been valued in any locker room for a year. So the fact that you were still valued in locker rooms, a valued asset, even though you didn't play as much as I would have liked to see you play. I think the fact that you're even out there fucking shooting shots, I'm cursing now, shooting threes and getting and putting up points in regular season games, I think it's tremendous.
Appreciate you, man.
And now I'm excited for next year.
Me too, man. And I know your parents are gonna be upset at the curse. I think your dad, right? Your dad doesn't like you cursing. But I appreciate that, man. It's been a hell of a year. It's been a whirlwind. Coming back for surgery. I've had some great staff. So big shout out to my guys. Sean John at Myers Institute of Sport, Mike Rongrati at Memphis Grizzlies. Did an amazing job with my knee, got me on the court with a double ligament tear within 8 months. Said it's got to be some historic record or something for those guys, for me as well. But they were the reasons why I was back on the court. So to be able to get back in 8 months was unbelievable. To be able to play, and I said I achieved more than I could expect with that. So it was amazing to be able to be on the court, after 8 months, 9 months, and said share a locker room with two different teams that were successful. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the next step, and I'm excited for next year as well. But I also have something to prove, man. So I want to see how it goes with free agency. Hopefully, it's still wanted by the teams, and so they can believe in me and know that I can still shoot the ball and defend. For those who think that I can't defend,
yeah,
but I appreciate everybody's love and support from all those teams, and also you guys' love and support, and the people that helped took care of my knee, man. So it's been a hell of a year, man. I enjoyed it. It's been a rough one, but yeah, I deserve some fucking time, some downtime, man. So I'm gonna take a little bit of downtime, enjoy it, but I'm gonna get back to work and make sure I stay on this knee because I think I have a couple good more years left in it, to play at a good level,
Yeah, I'm personally excited about the defense stuff because I know how much pride you take on that side of the floor, and I know defense as well. So to even be character, first of all, knowing what you're doing out there is half the battle because I'll tell you
knowing personnel, knowing where to go.
There's some dudes out there, Danny, playing defense right now in the playoffs. They look clueless. Like they look clueless. I ain't gonna name them names.
80% of the league doesn't even try. You guys have put me in the bad defender. Come on, bro. I'm at least in the 20% of the league that tries as a decent average defender. But it is what it is. Said you got to keep reminding people we have to prove stigmas wrong. For some reason, these random stigmas come about out of nowhere just because of one person starts it. But said I'm excited for the challenge, bro.
That's why we're here. We might as well just talk about it. It also comes down to we're gonna have to. It comes down to the whole just perception of who you are, right? Because we could talk about it, because what I guess you're bow-legged, you run differently in the first place.
I do move
right?
weird. I do move weird.
You move. You move.
I may not move as fast as you like.
It
may not look like I'm moving. I'm moving fast enough though to get the job done. So because I don't do it aesthetically pleasing, they're like, "Oh, he doesn't move." No, I'm still capable enough to move. Still have to get down the floor and slide. It may not be looking the way you like it to look, but it gets done. And I'll make sure that it's a challenge that I'm looking forward to this summer, and I'm gonna continue to grow. I said, you see Clay's playing a hell of a lot, of balling out this season, moving well and shooting it well. I'm not saying I'm gonna be Clay, but I can definitely get back to Danny Green the way Danny Green was before the injury. And so this summer is gonna be a big one for me.
It makes me more excited than the last off season, which I was just excited for your whole comeback story. But now I'm legit looking forward to the next chapter of the story. So I guess this will be the off season of Inside the Green Room, where we'll be dishing out a lot more X's and O's. So looking forward to that. Danny, enjoy Sweden.
Appreciate you, man. I will try my best.
Yeah, I'm jealous already. Enjoy, and guys, thank you once again. You know the drill. Read, rate, subscribe, review. See you next time. And you can also find us on Instagram, Inside Green Room. Peace out.